start. And yeah, I think everyone's on mute now, but if you aren't, it should be. So if you're a candidate, ensure your camera is on so we can see you and you're on mute. If you're a spectator, ensure your microphone is put on mute and your camera is off. Ensure your microphone is not on mute when you are called on to talk. I guess we could always tell you, but I think we might have this anyway. There's a lot of people here, so we might not see you, but try to remember to unmute yourself when you're trying to talk. The chat will only be used by staff, and if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. Will.
Molly's Teams has just crashed. She's going to try and get back in.
Okay, we will wait for her. Sure as well. Cool. Spectators should only ask questions when invited to do so. I think we're still waiting for Molly. Come back in. Is Timothy here? Timothy is one of the candidates, right?
Yeah, he was unable to attend today.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Molly is a candidate as well, is she?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Oh, she's back in. Great stuff. Okay, so the rules are students watching should have their cameras off and microphones muted unless they're asking a question. They should also raise their hand if they want to speak. If I'm not able to see you, I'm sure someone else will see you. Sorry, to be specific. No one should be using the chat. If they have a question, they should raise their hand and they will be called, but only during the student question section. There will be a time allocated for that. That is the only audience interaction that there should be. Candidates should also keep, I've said all this already. Candidates have 3 minutes to answer their questions, and when I ask the question, I will pick out the candidates to answer. Candidates should be fair and positive. There should be no negative campaigning or insulting other candidates. I'm sure most of the candidates know each other already, so I'm pretty sure it'll be a fair debate. Any questions the students ask should be fair and not offensive in any way. If they are, the candidates reserve the right to not answer the questions. Candidates should stick to time limits. And Joe will post in the chat when they have 30 seconds left to speak. Any questions asked by the audience should be to all candidates and not just individual ones. Okay, cool. So to start with, I'm going to ask each candidate to give an opening statement, and that should last approximately 3 minutes. Okay, so Will is the first person on my screen, so I'm going to ask Will to go first.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. Hello, everyone. I'm Will, and I'm running for VP Sports and Health this year. Just a little bit about me. I'm currently a business management student, and I'm the VP of men's rugby. I stepped up into a lot of other areas this year, becoming a student and department rep, whilst also founding the Business Management Society. I was one of 5 students chosen from the sports conference to go on to represent students within sports within the student council. Sitting in the student council meetings has helped me to understand what is required from the position and responsibilities that it entails. It's highlighted to me what issues I want to address if I were elected. I wanted to run for VP Sports and Health since the end of last year, and it's really helped. It's what's driven me to take on so much responsibility. I want to use the position of VP to help support students this coming year. The effects of COVID-19 are still being felt, mostly by students, yet the small amount of support that is available hasn't been enough. I will use the role to make a difference for all students with a return to normality. Hopefully, following the recent announcements, this will be much more realistic and the outlook on sport is looking positive. There are 5 main points in my manifesto which I want to achieve next year. First, I want better communication across the whole Students' Union. Secondly, to focus on a return to sport, socials and events. I'd also like to create a sports executive committee to help highlight different issues people may have within sport. I hope to utilise external organisations and charities, such as Mind, to assist in supporting the university to give students the help they may need. And lastly, I want to create access to virtual training for all students and societies, focusing on mental health and tiger training. However, this is just the surface. I want to be able to help students on a day-to-day basis, as well as being part of an active part of the community. I want to be available for questions and queries from anyone and everyone, while ensuring I'm both approachable and professional. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking, Will. Okay, so next up is Harrison.
Hey everyone, my name's Harrison Tippett and I'm running for VP Sports and Health. I'm a banking and finance student and also a keen footballer, although I've partaken in other sports such as rugby, rowing, sailing, cross country and even netball. If you've wondered about my accent, I'm from New Zealand, which has a rich sporting heritage, so I truly appreciate each and every sport. Some of you might know me because I'm the lead department rep for accounting, finance and economics. This gives me the experience to actively engage the SU body and gives me the context to ensure your voice is heard. As the current treasurer of men's football, I understand the impact on finances on sport. So as a key point in my manifesto, I will work with all and any club that needs help constructing a sound budget to reduce fees for students. I will also directly engage with local businesses to hunt out sponsorship for all clubs, potentially looking to get one large company to sponsor all clubs across UE, which would further reduce the sports fees for students. This may include forming partnerships with amateur and professional sporting bodies such as Bristol Rovers and Bristol Bears. I will also be looking to provide further coaching training for students and coaches alike, sponsored by the university. Additionally, I'd like to give each sport a day to access the campus grounds near the SU to promote their sport and fundraise. I also propose to allow individual clubs to resource their own kit if they do not want to use rhinos as we head into the last year of the 3-year deal, as there have been some complaints in quality, price and delivery time. Joining a sport can be intimidating, which is why I'll form a committee that will work with students and clubs to encourage being active and the inclusivity at UE. This committee would work with clubs to encourage team building and openness, while promoting exercise to students who otherwise might opt against joining a club. We have paid a lot of money each year to access university's facilities. However, for some students, their needs aren't met. I would work towards planning new facilities across campuses, such as a swimming pool and recreational sporting facilities, such as basketball hoops and 5-star pitches across the many campuses. We all have missed sports over the last year, and as it has been limited to a few weeks here and there by the government. However, last year there was a delay in allowing sports back by the university. So my promise to you is working with the club coordinator and the club development manager to ensure the transition to getting sports back is normal, safe, smooth, and quick. There are many more things I would do, however I must wrap things up. So good luck to the other candidates and have a good day, everyone.
Cool stuff, Harrison. Just in time as well. All right, next up we got Molly Harris.
Hi guys, so yeah, as Josh said, I'm Molly, and this year I'm a VP of the lacrosse club, as well as being captain over the last few years, and I'm even a representative for England lacrosse this year. Recently, all of my sporting involvement on committees and stuff has really driven me to go for this role. I think it's actually a very, very important role in the uni. It's something that I think we need to utilise even more, just to make sure that all sports, individual sports, club sports and other societies alike, really get their voice across to the university as much as possible, so that we can all get the most out of our university experience. Playing sports has always been a massive part of my life. I've done lots of sports over the years, anything from dance, hockey to lacrosse, skiing, all sorts, and I absolutely love all of it, and I fully understand how impactful sport can be on people's lives. So I just want to make sure that everyone's got that opportunity. My main manifesto points include different realistic goals and ideas that I've come across over the last few years. I sent a survey out to a lot of the sports clubs before writing my manifesto, just to see if my ideas were kind of on the same spectrum as everyone else. And I got really good feedback from it, and just, confirmed that what I was thinking wasn't just me, was kind of across the board. So my first point is I pledged to support the LGBTQ plus UK campaign to get the Uni Pride pledge across by getting all societies, not just sports societies, clubs and societies, to pledge inclusivity for LGBTQ plus members and to support their movement. Second of all, one of my main points is that I believe every student should have access to nutritional advice. I know that a lot of people come to uni having never cooked for themselves before, having never had to buy food for themselves before, and it can be quite daunting and quite a difficult process. So whether this be through recipe cards or updates or just little hints and tips here and there to make sure that everyone is eased into independent living. And on top of that, I want to support all sport clubs with nutritional advice. What you put into your body is what you get out of your body. And I think it'd be really important for sport performance as well as recovery if everyone knows how to fuel themselves properly, whilst obviously being on a student budget and being able to have beers and pizzas still. My third main point is about Team UE inclusivity. I've noticed over the last few years that a lot of people have struggled with the cross-club interaction. It'd be really great to get a good Team UE involvement. As well as I pledge to support any student who wants to try disability sport. At the moment, wheelchair basketball is the only one in Bucks that's a disability access sport. So I want to just ensure inclusivity across the board for everybody. I think all students need to be able to access mental health and wellbeing support. I know that's been completely amiss in a lot of areas, especially with COVID. So it'd be nice to everyone have complete access. They know exactly where to go if they need help.
Okay, just in time, literally. Thank you, Molly.
Okay.
Next up we have John. You're on mute, John.
Am I clear?
Happens to everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So hi guys. My name is John Paglinawan. And for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm in my final year of architecture at UE, and I've also been the president of the volleyball club for the past 4 years now. So I've been at UE for a while. I have had a lot of experience from being a committee member, and I've also been involved in the student council and have also participated a lot in SU-led events and projects, and have even also worked closely alongside previous VP Sports officials such as Erin and Jade Marcella, and even with Josh. So I really want to now pursue the role of VP Sports and Health, seeing the potential of Team UE ever since I became a committee member in my first year. So my manifesto points will really focus on 3 main points, being sports development, health and well-being, as well as the community overall for Team UE. There are a lot of sub-points that fall under these main manifesto points, but I feel like they are very achievable, and I'm not just going to be promising things just so that I can grab your attention, but I really feel like they are doable. Sports development-wise, I want to offer a lot of opportunities for coaching. This works alongside the MOVE program. I feel like a lot of people can be supported with coaching and helping out in these in this area. I also want to offer equal training opportunities for all sports club. May that be contacting external venues or giving equal time within campus facilities. I also want to improve gym and CFS facilities, just so that we can have a better sporting experience. Health and well-being wise, I really want to make it a habit for every one of us to really take care of each other, especially with our mental health support. And I also want to make it inclusive for everyone. And community-wise, I want everyone to have a great relationship with each other. Yeah, I don't have time, but yeah, I'll end it at that.
Cool stuff. Okay, just so you guys know, we might go over 8 by like say 10 minutes. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, no.
Okay, cool. Does anyone from the spectators stand? It's not really a stand. Does any spectator want to ask the candidates a question? We have Romaine.
Hello. Yeah, I was just wondering, for every candidate, most of you have really well spoken about why you are qualified and what you would do if you were elected. But I was just wondering, on a more personal level, why is this role so important to you?
We'll start with Will.
It's okay. So sport is something that's very passionate to me, especially with the health side of it. I struggled with my mental health a long time ago. So I used to play rugby quite a lot when I was younger. I was playing England under 18s. I was playing national level club rugby, and I got injured quite badly, and that pretty much ruined my career. And I went off the tracks, and I went into depression and all this sort of stuff, and that really affected me. And it took years of physio and counselling, and to come back and to come to university and to play sport again and be part of the community. I want to be able to give people that. It took a lot for me to go through that, and I think that that's something that, for me personally, I would be able to give to other people. To know where they're coming from, to know where they stand, and to give people that chance to, like, let's play rugby, let's play lacrosse, let's play hockey, let's play volleyball, let's play football, let's go out and play some games and have some fun, and to be able to look after each other. For me, that's the personal side of it for me, but as well as making it fun and going with the flow of things. So that's the personal touch from me. I don't know if anyone else got anything personal on it, but that's why I really want this, to be able to help the community with both sport and mental side of stuff. Thank you.
Well said, Will. Harrison?
Yeah, so when I was younger, my mum used to work in a hospital. She was in charge of the food, but it was quite in an impoverished area with a lot of obesity and not very good nutrition. And I believe the access that we have to these sports facilities, we should make the most out of them. Because the effect that sport and health has on your body, in terms of your ability to learn, your ability to focus, your ability to go out and be active and be mentally stable and be healthy, is so important. It doesn't just help with your physicality, it also helps with your mental state as well, and also just your general well-being. So I think that it's very important, and I think the ability to have seen a community where those resources aren't available, it's given me the insight to be able to realize that we need to make the most out of the gift that we've been given in terms of these facilities and these resources.
Okay. Next we have Molly.
Hiya. Yeah, so like I said in my speech a minute ago, sport is a massive part of my life. It's something I've always been very passionate about. I think there's something about that Wednesday match day feeling that you just can't, like, nothing else beats it. You know, we're all down at Lockleys together watching game after game, different sports, all a big community. I think it's something that everyone should have access to, or at least try. I know that me personally, I've benefited hugely from the social side of sport, you know, being able to meet all my friends. I live with all my friends at the moment from sport. And I'm a massive advocate for having a passion and a hobby in your life. You know, I don't think that if you're at university, you should just do your degree. I think if you come out of university with a first-class degree, but you've done nothing else, then you're not as enriched as someone who perhaps has played sport or has joined a society. And having that distraction and that switch off time or something else to focus your mind on is so important for not just your mental health, but your physical health as well. I know that in the past, I've done a lot of volunteering with disability access sport. And I've seen firsthand the benefits of children and young adults who have been given the opportunity to try sports and being supported through sport they may not have had to do before. And it's something that's just uplifts everybody and brings everybody together. I mean, when you play a sport, even if you're just messing around, you know, kicking a football around in the park, or if you're playing an actual serious match, the endorphins that are released from running around it's unbelievable. And that post like sport buzz feeling, I think, is just brilliant. And I know that sport has a huge impact on communities. I know that Lockleys have lots of different sporting communities, which is great when there are people from perhaps less advantaged backgrounds that can come and join and play sport all together with just this level playing field. And it really benefits people to get out there and try something new and inspire people, not necessarily even in sport, but just in life. If you've got something to work for, I think it's so important.
Thank you, Molly. Next we have John.
Okay. So for those of you who know me, volleyball is my life, and I love playing the sport. Not just volleyball, but badminton as well, etc. So during this pandemic, my mental health has been affected a lot. Not being able to play the sport, not being able to participate in this passion that I have with my sport and just in general you all understand me that this pandemic has really ruined a lot of things for us, and this includes sport. So during this time, it got me thinking a lot, that it got me excited to now get back into it and really, you know, help the community out and really run for this role. And I'll keep it short. I think running for this role is my way of giving back to UE after all the years that I have been here and has been a student here. I was given a lot of opportunities and they have treated me well as a student athlete. So now I want to help out and give others the similar experience that I've had, or an even better one. So yeah, I think I'll end it on that.
Cool. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, we'll move on to the
You're on mute.
Muted.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I'm gonna move on to the scripted questions now. Okay, so the first question is, how would you see the future of varsity sports? And this time I am going to start with Molly. I could repeat the question if you want me to.
No, that's absolutely fine, thank you. It's been pretty gutting actually to only have been able to play one varsity properly since being at uni, and it's something that I'm really passionate about getting off of the ground again. Something that I really like to focus on in varsity is the accessibility. I feel like varsity that I've played in the past was very UOB weighted, shall we say. You know, a lot of their sports teams are stronger than ours because they have more students, and therefore I think there should be more of an equal matching of teams and of sports, and a bit more inclusivity, because I know that some sports aren't even allowed to play varsity or have perhaps in the past been refused an opponent team. Stuff like the fees to go watch. In my first year, it was £10 to go and watch, and as much as I love my sport and I back my team, I wouldn't pay £10 to go watch us, because we're students and we can't afford that. So varsity for me should be this big community coming together. You know, we're one city. This is what varsity is all about, and we're all there to play the sport together and to have a good time. So I think for me, my main varsity points would be to try and make it accessible to all, inclusive, and just generally to have a good time. I think it's had a lot of negativity in the past, and we need to make sure that everyone knows what Varsity is, why it's so important and why it's so exciting, and just keep pushing for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Next, we'll go to Harrison.
So first off, I just want to say that UE actually has more students than UOB, and I actually believe in our sports to be able to beat UOB every time, unlike Molly. So I think that I've never participated in a varsity because I'm part of the student numbers, first year, second year, who haven't had the opportunity to play in the games due to the pandemic. So I think we should start a committee which plans the whole day, or maybe a weekend, or more like a week, where there's certain events scheduled throughout the day, and people are encouraged to go to each one. Say at Lockleys, because next year they'll have the hockey, the rugby, football there. They'll have a bunch of games there. So make a big event out of it, and also try and get a lot of the clubs to support each other. So engaging with like Molly was saying before in her introduction, increase the like UE my UE team thing, and try and get a lot of group work out of it. So build more of a community out of the sports instead of just having each sport come to their own one. Get it all inclusive. Maybe have like hockey match, and right after have football, and then right after have rugby. So it's one event, a big event, one thing, the whole community, and we can just beat UOB. Cheers.
Cheers, Harrison. I'm just gonna say, remember to keep this fair and fun, and we shouldn't go at each other. Also, I forgot to say that if you have anything to say, like a follow-up from, like, for example, if Harrison wanted to say something from what Molly said, he could raise his hand, and you have a minute to, say it. But yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Next, we have John.
Okay. Regarding varsity, I definitely agree with what they've both said, and I'm all for it. For me, I feel like during the past couple of years, standalone events made it very difficult for other sports club to showcase their sport during varsity, and not everyone was given equal opportunities to have a competitive game against Bristol. We were fortunate enough to have our own standalone event, but unfortunately that was mixed in with badminton on the side. So yeah, I feel like returning varsity to a week event and just have everyone focus on that week will really help other clubs to support other teams and other clubs, just like Harrison said. And the community, I feel like it has been every sports club has been very good, but as their own, and they're very individual. So I really want to help connect all that together and make a better Team UE overall. So I think putting varsity again as a 1 week event and encouraging sports clubs to go and support other teams and other clubs is a really good idea. And I think live streaming as well could help, etc. So yeah.
Good stuff. Next, we have All Right.
Cool, cheers. Can I just ask you a quick question, Josh? Did Matt Burch change his stance on varsity?
Well, no, we haven't heard
Good.
anything from them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the issue, and this is one of the things I'll say. I will give Josh his credit for the last couple of years because varsity has been a real issue. I know in Josh's first manifesto, he said he wanted to make varsity really special and really bring something to it. Obviously, that was shot down by Matt Burch, who is the director of sport over at UOB. He's their big head honcho, and he's like Josh's boss's boss at UOB. One of the things that I would try and look at is other avenues at other universities. I know when rugby found out that we couldn't do varsity, we searched for other teams. We looked at Gloucester, we looked at Exeter, we looked at Bath. or Bath Spa. Obviously, these are all other universities that have their own varsities already, have their own set traditions. But obviously, with Bristol not wanting to play with us, we have to find some ways of making some sort of sporting event. I agree with what everyone has said. I agree with having a big event and trying to support each other. But I think we need to find a way of making sport sexy. America does it really well. They have huge turns out. The American football, everything gets live streamed, and it's a really cool atmosphere. And that's something that I think we really need to do, no matter who we're playing against. It could be Bristol, hopefully. It could be Gloucester. It could be Bath. It could be another university down in Devon. But I think we need to make a really cohesive, community feeling, sexy event that looks really nice to everyone who wants to play sport. Also, we all know we are Team UE. We all support each other. And I think that's the way we need to go down things. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, next up we have, what do you think are the biggest barriers to engaging in sport? So the question is, what do you think are the biggest barriers to engaging in sport in UE? So we'll start with Harrison.
I think there's two big things in my opinion. If I'm allowed to go for both. The first one is financing. A lot of sports like football, rowing, rugby, I presume. Rowing I know is expensive from previous encounters with it. You got to pay for the boats, you got to pay for the travel, you got to pay for everything. It's insane. Also, football was like, my first year was 180. I managed to get down to 150, which I thought was pretty good, because due to no change, obviously that didn't take place. But the fees, students are cash ridden already, and so adding those extra fees on, just it's a big stopper. And so having maybe sponsored athletes who are actually at an elite level and trying to get them involved through sponsoring their sports fees might be a good idea. Another thing that I want to focus on, which I said in my opening statement, is the scariness of joining a sports fees, coming into a group of pre-established people where you don't know any of them, they don't know you. It's quite difficult. So trying to increase the inclusivity of these sports, of these trials, of these open days, maybe by hosting a lot of events around campus so people can actually meet and greet in a less intimidating setting than going to join a trial. I know that one time I went to go try with volleyball, I think it was last year around November time, and it was quite a difficult thing because everyone there is so tight. It's hard to break into. Even though they were lovely, it's still difficult to approach someone and join. So having maybe like a focal point where they can find out a lot of information, they can join without it being so intimidating. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, those are very good points, Harrison. Next, we have Molly.
Okay, so yeah, a bit like what Harrison said, I guess finance is a big barrier to sport. But I think actually two of the main things that are barriers to sport, particularly at university level, is the midterm dropout sort of thing we have. You know, there's a lot of people that come in Freshers Week, and we have, you know, Freshers Fair, and everyone's so excited, and we all join a sport, and then they start going out and having uni life and realizing that they have a degree to do, and it drops off, and that passion and that momentum kind of stops. And I think that is really, really detrimental to a lot of sports clubs, and it means that this excitement when it comes to all the big mid-season games and varsity has dropped off a bit, and people kind of forget that they can be involved. It's really good, obviously, that we have refreshers, and I think that is going to be beneficial, especially when COVID has, you know, gone a bit more, and we can actually get better engagement. But another thing, similar to Harrison's point about, you know, being quite scary starting a sport. I know that from my own personal experience of UE lacrosse, our entire women's second team is completely just freshers who've never played the sport before. And I think as a club, we're actually quite good at making sure that people are allowed to try. And, you know, failure is part of your learning. And if you try a new sport, that is really brave. So perhaps by having something such as increasing this Team UE feeling, this excitement and this big, large community will make it a bit less scary for people to join in sport and reduce that barrier somewhat, you know, whether it's from having weekly fixtures published so that everyone can go support each other, and making sure that all our social medias cross over, having better just publicity of sporting successes. Sometimes, there could be an athletics team up in Sheffield, or an individual athlete that we've never heard of who have, really, really achieved very well in their sport, and people don't hear about it. But if we bring that together as part of Team UE, I think all this excitement and this momentum and this big community will reduce that sort of scary barrier to joining a sport, and then people will realise actually how beneficial it is, and we can all share, the love for the sport that we have.
Thank you, Molly. Next, we have John.
Continuing on from Molly's point, I do agree that there is a lack in giving clubs and fixtures and sports teams that promotion and that advertisement online and around campus. And as I've mentioned before, I feel like each sports club, they're good at being themselves individually, but I see that there's a lack of support in coming to watch games or cheering everyone on when they have fixtures during Bucks Wednesdays or whenever they play during the week. So I definitely agree that to continue this tradition of, making Team UE a really important thing, I think everyone needs to be supporting everyone as much as possible, or at least be aware of the sports clubs that there are and the games that are happening during the week. One other thing is funding. I came into volleyball in my first year, and I remember the fee being pretty expensive. And I've worked the past few years to help members, as well as myself, as we all have to pay the fee for our sports, to reduce this. And this is something that I want to help other sports club out with as well, in providing sponsorships and looking for partnerships with local businesses to help give funding for sports. Especially smaller clubs, they are given less opportunities because they are a small club and do not have the funding. I spoke to someone from archery just a few days ago, and they've been completely disregarded compared to bigger sports clubs because they don't have the funding. But how will they get the funding if they don't have a sport club? So I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And inclusivity as well. I agree with Molly about basketball only being the only sport to have a disabled platform with Bucks, with UE anyway. I want to increase opportunities for other sports to also allow people to participate as much as they can. And yeah, I want to make it less intimidating for sports clubs such as basketball, rugby, these big sports, to be less intimidating, and for that everyone can try it out as much as possible.
Molly?
There was just something that I wanted to put out there with you guys. I don't know if you know much about Bucks policy. Like John was saying, I've read a lot into it about disability access in Bucks, but also into the LGBTQ rights in Bucks sport. And I don't know if any of you guys know, but just out of interest, there's this whole platform on Bucks that make them seem super inclusive. Like, yes, we're all for inclusivity of all genders in our sport. And then there's a little underneath note that says something to do with gender orientated sports or gender dependent sports. And a lot of the sports that we play are gender dependent sports. So that is a massive barrier. If, the company above us, that if the policies from Bucks are limiting our accessibility, then that is something that we all should do as a student body to try and push together, because that's something that's a huge, huge barrier that some people don't often realise. So I just thought I'd put that out there.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, John, go on.
Yes, I completely agree with Molly. I encountered last year, before the pandemic happened, a player from volleyball that wanted to play, but identified herself as male. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure how to handle it. So I had ask the SU and help on this, but I think they got back to me really late, and I wasn't able to really help her out and support him out with joining our club. And in the end, he ended up just leaving because I wasn't able to help, nor was the SU. So Molly bringing this up, I think, is very important. And I think not just disabilities, but sexual orientation or gender identity is also something really important with sports. So yeah.
Yeah, very, very important point made. I'll ask the question again because it's been forever since I asked it. The question is, what do you think are the biggest barriers for engaging in sport? So last is Will.
Yeah, cool. It is me. Yes. So I think most of the main points have been covered already. For me personally, you're right. It is funding, as in the cost of fees and time. Obviously, you have to get your degree first. That's kind of why we are here. We are here to get our degree. Yes, sport is so unbelievably important for your university experience that you should be able to do it. There should be no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. I think it was great that we used to have Wednesday afternoons off for sport. I mean, obviously that's now gone. That is something that I would love to get back next year. I know a lot of other universities don't do that, and that's something that UE does themselves. And I think that's really, really good, and hopefully we can get that back. Funding shouldn't be an option, shouldn't be an obstacle. So if we could, I'd love to do some sort of hardship fund where people could actually get funding for their sports fees. Sports fees don't have to be extortionate. I know when I was treasurer, I managed to get sports fees down to about 50 quid. Of course, that was a bare bones subscription, but that got players onto the pitch, playing rugby and having a whale of a time, and that covered their insurance. With a hardship fund, we could be people that couldn't afford that. We should and possibly could cover that. It's just how we roll that out, whether it's means tested or how we want to roll that out. You are right with the LGBT community. It is hard. I don't know how many guys, especially on the rugby team, would feel if we mixed women's and men's rugby. These are very staunch institutes. Obviously, Bucks themselves, if they're saying how they want to do it, then we're ruled by them. But I think more needs to be done, especially from us as a student body, to change these things. The world is changing. The world is evolving. We need to evolve with the times. We need to do better, and I think that's something that next year, hopefully, I'll be able to do. So thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Will. Down to the nitty-gritty details. Okay, so next we have, I should stop saying next we have, it's a terrible line. So the question is, how would you build on and improve the previous work of the president's team? We'll start with Will this time. Yeah, just because you've been the last three questions.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Give me a sec. How would I improve on your work? Is that? Yeah.
On my work and on the president's team in general, not just me. So
Okay.
it doesn't feel like a personal attack or anything.
Great question. Can you give me a couple of minutes? I've got to think about this one.
Okay. Now we're okay. I guess we'll go with John next because you haven't been first and you haven't answered first any time.
Okay. I think I'm not sure if I've already mentioned, but I definitely did in my candidate video. Previously, I've worked a lot already with previous VP sports presidents. I don't want to brag too much, but I feel like with Jade Marcella, I was always her go-to guy in terms she needed promotion or someone to help her out with something. That's really when my passion for wanting to run for this role came even more, because I managed to experience a lot what it was like to do the things that she was doing. And even when Josh was elected, I felt that I could offer advice in terms of what he wanted and needed to hear from us committee members every time he did a sports conference. So I think sports clubs and societies in general is such a big part of UWI's community. And I feel like during this pandemic, obviously with all the hardships and obstacles that are in place, it wasn't addressed as much, and that the identity of sports clubs weren't highlighted enough. And I feel like we've hit such a stale moment of our uni lives as well as our sporting lives during this past year, that if the pandemic were to persist in the coming year and we aren't able to go back into sport, I would really like to do more online related stuff, host socials, and for me, I really value the friendship and the bonds that I've made with my volleyball club for the past years. So now I really want to apply the stuff that we've done as a club to the entire Team UWI sports clubs, host social events, quiz nights, game nights, etc. You name it. If everyone wants to get involved, happily we'll run it as much as we can. So I think this past year, the identity of sports clubs were really limited, and it wasn't maximized enough. So I think that's one thing that I can help out with in case we're still in lockdown.
Please don't say that. Okay, we'll go back to Will.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. I had to take a second. I think that you've done a lot of work so far on improving the actual resources at the university. I know obviously the swimming pool couldn't get done. I understand that. I know you've broken a lot of bread on that. But improving the resources, especially with the Centre for Sport, I think you've done a fantastic job on that. And I think that's something that we really could take forward. I know when I've spoken to Centre for Sport, they've been improving even more. And that's something that hopefully we can roll out across the rest of the campuses. I think the satellite campuses, so Bower Ashton, city campuses, could do with some more TLC, for lack of a better word, because I do feel that they are a long way from Friendshare, where a lot of the activities focused, especially sport-wise. I think most of the MOVE program is all held either on the AstroTurf or at Centre for Sport. That realistically we could move some of those into town and get more people involved. You've worked quite hard on the scholarships, and I know again I spoke to you about scholarships before. I think you've done a good job on those, and that's the sort of thing that if we rolled that into a sort of hardship fund, we could build on that even more. And I think obviously the performance sports will get their scholarships anyway. And I know from working with Guy, is it Guy Coles? Yeah, working with Guy, that sort of level will carry on. It's now how we take that step further and carry on, make sure everyone else gets involved that hasn't been able to be helped out. I think you've done a good job so far, and I hope that I can build on to what you've done so far.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Harrison. We'll go to Harrison.
Hey there. Yeah. So I believe that a smooth transition is key to the trajectory of the university. Ensuring that your objectives and your manifestos, like Will said, presumably reading from your manifesto, like I have in front of me as well. I believe that ensuring that all your good ideas that you have worked on and you have proposed that have been delayed due to COVID, we can carry on and pick those up and carry them on, because they're almost there, a lot of them. So if we just keep pushing it, it will get all those good points, and it won't just go the opposite direction and get even worse potentially. So ensuring that I work with you, or whoever gets through works with you, to be able to be knowledgeable on your manifesto points, to be able to ensure a smooth transition and to make sure that there's no delay in getting these improvements done. because the university deserves it. Cheers.
Yes, the students deserve it. Okay, last we have Molly.
Cool. So yeah, I think over the last few years we've had obviously some really good VP Sport and Health, both you and Jade. I know that myself personally, and I know that a few of the rest of you here have had a really good relationship over the past few years with VPs of Sport and Health, you know, popping into the SU for a cup of tea, that sort of thing. And I think that sort of approachability needs to really be included and perhaps even heightened from what it already is. This platform is so important, and I think to be able to reach everybody that needs to have their voice heard would be so good. I know that I mentioned earlier that I put a small survey out before I fully finished my manifesto, and I actually found, unfortunately, from about 7 sports clubs that I did get feedback from, that 90% of the respondents didn't actually really fully understand who the VP of Sport and Health was and what their job was. And that's nothing to do with you, Josh, personally. I think that's a presidential team in general sort of thing. I think if you're a student who doesn't even consider anything to do with, you know, the student body, perhaps you just come to university. Some people don't know what it is, and it's getting that across why these roles are so important and how that can actually benefit other students. I think is something that we all need to work on, you know, as a presidential team in general. It's just that there's a little bit of a barrier between, you know, reaching everybody so they all know why they're there and what they're for. Half the people, when I've told them about this role, you know, message them online, don't even realize it's a paid job. And obviously for that, it's really important. We're all going for this because we're passionate about it and we want to be that best person for the job. But if the people who are voting for us don't understand why it's so important, that is really crucial. There's also in the past been a lot of focus from the VP of Sport and Health on sport, but sports clubs in particular. And I think the health side of the job, as well as individual sports, have been missed off the bat a little bit. So making sure we've got that inclusivity of all sports being focused and all sports being the priority of any type, and not just sports, but students in general and their health. You know, our job is going to be to work with the whole presidential team. So whether that's putting out across to the education vice president, you know, your students need to eat well in order to study well, you know, that sort of thing. We all need to work together for that. I know that myself and Will have actually in the past been on a board with the trustees of UE for some of the funding for sport. And I found it really, really interesting that a lot of what we were being asked was things like, oh, do you want all your sport funding to be on French aid? Do you want this? Do you want that? And we were feeding back as a very small percentage of the student voice, and our voices were meant to represent everybody. And I feel like so much more could have been beneficial if everybody had more of an impact. So being that person that people can come to and say, look, I've got this idea or I've got this problem, what you're going to do to help, I think is what we really need to push for with these presidential roles, not just for sport and health, but for all of them in general. And that means that we can get the best out of it. You know, it's a job, it's a lifeline. It's going to be good fun, whatever happens.
Yes, cool. So we're almost at 8, and I guess we don't have time for any more meetings. Sorry, questions. So I'm going to ask each of the candidates to give a closing statement, starting with Harrison.
Yeah, I think it's been a very productive session today. We've also got a lot of points that we've shown to the students, but also shown to each other. I feel like a lot of us, like whoever gets the role out of the 4 of us, will be able to use each other's ideas to be the best they can be. Saying that though, vote for me. I got a nice song on the old YouTube. Look me up, Harrison Interpret. Give it a little listen, see what you think. Cheers.
Cheers. Next is All Right.
I love just referring to me as All Right. Love that. Cheers, mate. Cool. So thank you. So I just want to give a bit of a summary of obviously the points, obviously of my manifesto. The better communication. These are the sort of things that I want to be able to do as a VP with groups, with other committees, to have a better communication across everything. I think that'd be so much better to do more regularly and make it easier to have this conversation. a return to sport and social events. Obviously, that's a given. We want to do that. We have to do that. That's cool. That's how we have to be. I think that's so important. People are craving going back to sport now. On the 21st. The sports executive team is something really, really important to me. It's something that I know John touched on, I think, about creating a group that we can work together. It's something that I messaged Molly asking if she would be able to help me with it. It's something that I think it would be great, putting people in place to have someone that stands for women in sport or SPRD in sport, BAME in sport, people that can speak up for set issues and can actually help me as a VP to make a real difference to people, give someone to champion these issues and gives everyone a focal point to work towards. Obviously, I've said about working with outside organisations and charities. If you've seen what we've done at the rugby team, we have worked so hard with Movember. We raised a lot of money to help them out, and that goes towards men's mental health. This is so important, especially to me, as you already know, about mental health. And I think that's something that next year we really need to push more. The wellbeing team is, while very good, under a lot of pressure at the moment. And hopefully working with charities like Mind and Movember, we can able to alleviate some of that pressure. And lastly, about virtual training. Especially with mental health. I know when I spoke to Em, we did a mental health session with the rugby team and Tiger training. If you remember 2-3 years ago, the Tiger training was brilliant. And that's something that really needs to be done again soon with the new freshers that are coming before clubs open. Finally, just thank you to everyone that's listened to us this evening. If you have any more questions, feel free to message me on Facebook or Instagram. It's just at WillAllright VPSH. Both times, makes it nice and easy for you to remember, if I can say it. Also, I'll be hosting a live Q&A session on Friday if anyone wants to give me any questions, or if you just want to come around, have a chat in general, see how it goes. That'll be on my Facebook page. So just drop me a like, send me a like, and I'll get you guys involved. Thank you very much.
Cool. John?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll keep it short and simple. Honestly, I'm rooting for any one of us, to be honest. Like, no matter who wins, genuinely, I feel like we're all so passionate about this role and that we'll all do a good job. But yes, so for my closing statement, I just want to say that no matter what sport you play or which club you belong in, at the end of the day, I think we're all representing Team UE, and it has so much potential that we haven't tapped yet. So I just want to be able to be your voice and to represent you and do what I can to make a better sporting experience for all of us and incoming freshers, etc. So yeah, I wasn't able to touch upon my entire manifesto points, but please check it out on the Students' Union website, and also my Instagram at John Paglinawan. And yeah, you can find out more information about myself on there and as to why I think I deserve to get your votes. And yeah, I hope you're all staying safe during these crazy times, and please keep well. And yeah, we hope to get back into it as soon as we can. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, John. Molly?
Yeah, so a bit like what John just said, it's very hard to summarize everything that's just been said. I think all of us have very mutual passions in this, and I can't think of, if any one of us gets it, I think the fact that we've all got very similar overlapping ideas clearly means that we've all had very similar experiences and want to build on that equally, which is just fantastic to see. It's really exciting. I know that next year's committees have all been voted in. So thank you for you guys who have come and watched tonight. Just bear in mind that who you're voting for is who you're going to be working closely with. One of my main ideas, very similar to the other boys here, is to have this representative from each committee or from each club, making sure that we tap in regularly, have feedback sessions, have check-ins to make sure that everyone is still happy and that things haven't changed, or perhaps a new idea has popped up. Having that representative across everybody, you know, and pushing for big campaigns such as, you know, the This Girl Can movement, all those sort of things. If we all work together, then this role is going to be, you know, the best possible. Want to just keep, you know, the momentum going from what the SU's been doing so far. I know that Harvey's push for the mental health training in all sports is just fantastic. I really want to help back that and keep that going because I think she's doing a fantastic job and it's so important. This smooth transition into the next VP is going to be especially important this year, as we've had Josh now for 2 years, which obviously is great to have someone in the role for 2 years. So to be able to then move forward effectively, to keep, you know, building on what's happened so far is going to be so important. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you want to know more about my manifesto, obviously please find it on the SU website. My Instagram page is just Vote Molly for VP, all one word. I'll be putting updates on there regularly, same on the Facebook page as well. And yeah, hopefully you'll vote for, you know, who you have the most passion for. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. Harrison?
I've already gone.
Yeah, I thought so. I was just checking to make sure you were paying attention. All right, thank you everyone that showed up. All the candidates are amazing. Really, you have great ideas. I'm inspired really just listening to every one of you. And yeah, thank you for being here. And that's a wrap. And just so you know, this will be posted on the YouTube, the SU's YouTube. So